Welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast with your host, Funk Roberts.
We are live, and welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast. This is episode number 132, and I'm your host, Funk Roberts, former professional athlete turned fitness expert and online fitness coach for men over 40, 50, 60, and beyond. Basically, I'm your savior. And this podcast is dedicated to health and fitness for men over 40 in all of the pillars, from nutrition to workouts to sleep to mindset to supplementation. And today we're going to talk about recovery. We're actually going to go through the 10 commandments of recovery and injury prevention. Because as we get older, that is one thing that we really need to focus on. Aside from building muscle, aside from burning fat, aside from boosting our energy, aside from naturally increasing our testosterone levels, it's injury prevention, or how do we manage injuries? And so when we were younger, it was all about getting to the gym, training 6-7 days at some points, being in the gym for more than an hour, an hour and a half, and the pride behind doing that. And of course, our bodies could recover much better. But when we reach the age of 40, gentlemen, physiological changes happen. And one of those physiological changes that happen is our ability to recover. Our ability to recover from workouts, our ability to recover from just any activities that we do. Maybe it's hiking, maybe it's you're mowing the lawn, or you're working in the garden, or you're building something. If you still go out and drink, the recovery from drinking is not the same as it used to be when we were younger. And so, I mention this a lot. You guys can't see me if you're listening to this, but there is a margin of error, right? Like, we can get into the best shape of our lives. In fact, I see it every day in my Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, which you can join for just $1 and 30 days. And I guarantee you will not only lose 5 to 10 to 20 pounds, depending on how much you weigh, but you are going to adopt a brand new lifestyle amongst thousands and thousands of brothers just like you, over 40, 50, 60 from all over the world, who are probably struggling just like you and have completely transformed not only their bodies and health, but their life. So go to over40alpha.com for $1. Literally, I'm joined for $1 and 30 days. And listen, after those 30 days, if you want to continue, just continue through. If you don't want to continue, then just cancel, because I don't want your money and I don't want to deal with you if you're not willing to put in the work. Okay, so over40alpha.com. Anyways, the reason why I bring this up is because inside of Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, recovery is one of the 6 pillars. In fact, mindset's first, recovery is second. Sleep's third, nutrition, workouts, supplementation. And the reason why recovery is so important is because when you have a program that's built on 36 phases, which translates to 36 months of workouts, of abs, I have to make sure that these guys don't get injured, right? Imagine 33 years. First of all, the fact that we have, and I like to brag on this, so please give me a chance to brag on the Alpha OGs in my program, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Alpha OGs who have gone through 1 year of our program, the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, and not get injured. Like, that is, no one does that. No one sticks to a program for 1 year. It's very, 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 it's something that you generally don't see in the world of health and fitness. Period. So I pride myself on that, and I pride my brothers on that, because they adopt recovery. And it's something that we're not used to, right? Like I said, if you haven't even worked out, so, when we're younger, we're training, we're in the gym, we're doing what we do, trying to get jacked, even just trying to lose weight, whatever it is. If we're an athlete, if we're, a job that's physical, that's really all we're trying to focus on. things like warming up, things like stretching, that doesn't apply to us. And yoga, Pilates, and mobility, what's that, right? So if you haven't even done any of that stuff for the last 10 years and now you're getting back into training, you're not even thinking about that. And that's not your fault. Why would you? It wasn't something that when we were younger in our 20s and even our 30s was something that was brought to the forefront. It's only been the last, decade, within the last decade, and I'm even going to say in the last 3 to 4 years, where it's really become a thing, flexibility and mobility, and but not really focusing on for men over 40. A lot of times it's athletes, a lot of times it's CrossFit, a lot of times it's women, but generally the for me, the population, obviously athletes need it a lot, but the population really that needs this type of recovery the most is going to be us in our 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond, because we're not only coming off not being active for many years, if we're just getting back into training, back into workouts, back into focusing on our fitness and health, but a lot of us are coming in with pain, right? Shoulder pain, knee pain, lower back pain, elbow pain. It may not even just be pain. It could be discomfort, hips, really tight hips, because we haven't been doing some of the commandments that I'm going to share with you over the last 10 years, or we have, done something that has caused an imbalance in our body. So for instance, I was a professional athlete. Talked about this a gajillion times, but for those of you who are new, I was a professional athlete. So I played a sport that I used my shoulders a lot. So as a volleyball player, both indoor and beach, but at the highest level. So there would be practices that I would be hitting the ball hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, spiking the ball hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. But if you're doing that from the time you're 13 all the way to the time that you're 30, and it's something that you did as a profession, you're going to have some shoulder issues, knee issues, maybe ankle issues. You're going to have those issues. Subsequently, if you play another type of sport where you're doing the same thing over and over again. So athletes, when we were athletes and then we didn't take care of those things, now we're 40 and those things creep up, because a lot of times men think that, okay, you know what? I just injured my hip, or I just injured my knee, or now I got arthritis in my knee, or I just had screwed up my shoulder for some reason. It just happened because I just picked something up. But what you probably don't realize is if you sat back and thought about, what have I been doing for the last 20, 30 years of my life? Oh yeah, that's right. I used to play hockey, or I used to play basketball, or I used to play baseball. So although my shoulder really didn't do it, really didn't hurt me, or wasn't really something I thought about in my 20s or 30s, all of a sudden, it's all caught up now, right? A lot of times it's not something that you just did. It's like all of that wear and tear over the years and not taking care of it. Then all of a sudden, arthritis in the knees, shoulder discomfort, right? Maybe it's stability or shoulder mobility or lack thereof, right? So it's just, we're already coming in something. And then let's say that you work in in a factory or in a job where you're doing the same movement over and over again, like the same thing over and over again. So you're going to have some imbalance in your body and your muscles. And so what happens is when you have that imbalance, then other parts of your body that's not supposed to be taking over starts to take over, which causes more discomfort, pain, and the ability to get injured easier because you're weak on one side or with one movement, right? So if you're doing a lot of twisting to one side and don't twist the other side, that can play a part. Also, again, I'm just kind of giving you reasons why this recovery and injury prevention is so important. Again, so as men, right? Back in the day when we went to the gym, I focused because of the sport I played. Lower body was the key. I have big ass legs and a big ass glutes, but most guys, they didn't work their legs, right? There's only a few guys that work their legs, but even working legs is different from glutes. Okay. And the reason why I'm bringing up glutes, glutes are pretty much the second biggest muscle group in the body next to your quads, but the glutes are extremely important for many things, many movements, many everyday functional movements that we do, we need to activate the glutes. So we've never been taught to activate the glutes. I know if you're listening to this right now, unless you're in my program, like unless you've been actually in the over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, you've probably never been told that you need to activate your glutes. In fact, I know this because most of the guys that I talk to who talk to me about them having lower back pain all of a sudden, or knee pain all of a sudden, like guys who are playing like shinny hockey or they play soccer and like, yeah, man, I don't know, it's my lower back. I get, I get this lower back pain or what have you when I'm running, things like that. And I'm like, oh, do you activate your glutes? They're looking at me with a blank stare. And I understand that. Like, I don't ever judge when it comes to this stuff. Just to let you guys know, if you ever have questions, to talk about this stuff, I will never judge you because why would you know? How could you ever know that you're supposed to activate your glutes, even though we sit all day? So our glutes are not activated because a lot of us have jobs where we sit all day or we drive all day or, we're just not activating, which means like activation stuff, glute activation, to turn on your glute muscles, because when your glute muscles are supposed to be used and utilized with a lot of our functional movements like squatting and lunging and running and there's a lot of things that our glutes need to be activated to take the brunt of the lower back, right? So like when you don't activate your glutes when you're doing certain movements, your lower back starts to take the brunt of it. The lower back is now doing what the glutes are supposed to do, right? So it's important to get those glutes working. But with men, we think about glutes, we think about the booty, we think about women, because that's what we see on social media. That's really all of the programming. But in fact, we need to not only activate and build strong glutes just to be more powerful, just to, again, prevent injury, just to be more effective with our workouts, but also our wives and our girlfriends and the ladies love the glutes. Period. I've been blessed to have beautiful glutes, a beautiful black bubble butt. That when I was younger, people used to tease me a lot, like not even younger. I mean, even into my pro beach years, I remember that it wasn't even a meme because there was no such things as a meme. But I do remember that this one guy put 2 beach volleyballs in his butt and took a picture and said like, who am I? Right. And so this was at a party that I wasn't even at, and a picture circulated. I'm not even talking about a picture on the phone. I'm talking about the actual physical picture circulated. I got a hold of it and I'm like, well, he's right. But it was something that when I was younger really pissed me off. But as I got older, I realized, dude, I have like the best ass on the planet. So I used to win, and I'm not even joking when I tell you this, I used to win best butt contests. We used to have them down on Florida. If you guys used to go to Summers back in the day on Fort Lauderdale, I know they used to have the bikini contest, but they also used to have best butt contests. And I did in Mexico. I won. I came second, but I should have won. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is glutes, baby. Like we should be building and working our glutes on an ongoing basis because that's going to help with injury prevention. The other thing too is our hips, right? Most of us have very tight hips. And I'm hoping that when you're thinking about this right now, like when your glutes aren't activated and you're doing an exercise like a lunge, your back will hurt, your knee will hurt. You'll be like, why is my knee hurting all of a sudden? Well, did you activate your glutes? And then lo and behold, you do some exercise to activate the glutes before your next workout. And all of a sudden your knee's not hurting anymore. Your back's not hurting anymore. If you have tight hips, a lot of us have tight hips, right? Like, specifically if we've been sitting all day and most of us don't really do mobility. So we don't do hip mobility and all of these great things that are now available to us more readily. And so again, tight hips, you'll get back, you'll get knees, you'll get like it runs up and down. And generally speaking, when you have an pain in a specific muscle group or area or joint, like a knee pain or elbow pain or back pain, it's not always the back or the knee or the elbow. It's usually the joint above or below that's not doing what it needs to do, whether it's stability or mobility or what have you. So knowing that So again, so that's like all of these pain things that have happened, like, and if we're playing something, or if we're in the military, and that's a whole other thing. Guys are coming in with freaking hip replacements and all kinds of shit, right? And then on top of that, guys coming in with knee replacement, hip replacement, shoulder replacement, all of these things. You know, we're up against if we don't. Once again, I'm going to say the the margin for error for us when we're in our 40s, 50s, and 60s is very, very small. So we can't eat the same way that we used to, all the shitty foods, and expect to still burn fat, expect to recover, expect to not have inflammation, expect to still be able to build muscle and lose belly fat, still eating the way we used to eat when we were in our 20s, drinking alcohol like we were in our 20s, or just drinking at all, and it's still expect, oh, well, I worked out today, I did my steps today. Hey man, your steps and your workouts ain't gonna do shit if you're drinking all the time. Okay, don't believe that shit that you see online with all these excuse my language, with all these fitness people who are showing you that they drink and all this bullshit, when they do probably drink, but they're probably on something as well. Okay, they're on something. Most of the guys that you see that will talk about, oh yeah, I drink and do all this stuff, you can still eat pizza and all this bullshit, are most likely on TRT or something. Or they're already there, and then they start talking about that bullshit. Don't believe the hype, man. You can't, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We don't need to do that shit. We don't need to do drinking and smoking and all these things, specifically if we're on the journey of transformation. And I will battle anybody on that. Believe me, I've been in these battles with these other fitness guys at conferences and things. And when they try to step to the, oh yeah, I drink and blah, 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 and it's okay, I 100% of the time put them in their place. Like, it's bullshit, man. Stop fucking around. Maybe you can do it, but you're also on something. So don't believe the hype. Now, can you? Yes, but I'm not going to go down that route. We'll talk about that in another. I'm sure I've actually talked about that. I've had guys on my podcast. James talked about that on the podcast. Anyway, so we can't work out the same way. Like, we can't do 7 workouts a week, or even 6 workouts a week, or even 5 workouts a week and expect to not get injured, right? So here's that margin of error. We can't eat the same way. We can't work out the same way or at the same volume or intensity. We can't drink like we used to. We can't neglect certain things. We can't do we cannot not go to our doctors and get tests, We can't neglect our sleep and expect to live healthy. We have a margin of error. And when I say margin of error, that means we can still get in the best shape of our lives, the best health of our lives. We can reverse chronic illnesses that we may have. We can have 6-pack abs, build muscle. Believe me, I see it every single day inside the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood. We can do all that, but the margin of error is very small. We can't F around anymore. We can't fuck around anymore. It's essential to focus on recovery and implement recovery. How uncomfortable it will be for you. It will be uncomfortable at first. It's uncomfortable for everybody because we don't generally do a lot of these things. So it's hard to, and it's not sexy. Like, I don't know how many people are going to like flock to this, I gotta make sure the team calls us something, and who's going to flock to the 10 commandments of recovery for injury prevention. This should be the #1 podcast episode ever on the Over 40 Alpha podcast. This is like the most important one, but because it's not sexy, it's not how to build muscle. It's not the 10 commandments of burning fat. It's not the 10 commandments of supplements. It's not the 10 commandments of 6-pack abs. It's not the 10 commandments of mindset and getting mental strength, but it's, as far as I'm concerned, the one that's going to keep us going in our 90s and our hundreds and be able to hike and be able to walk. Like, Angela and I just came back from Texas, and one of our trips was to Big Bend National Park. And Big Bend National Park is massive. It's a massive area of absolute beauty. But to get to a lot of the monuments, I always say this wrong, like, for instance, the Balance Rock. If any of you have gone to Big Bend National Park, most people in Texas haven't gone there because it's so far. It's like 9 hours away from Dallas with a car drive. You've never done that. But if you've been there, if you've been to Big Bend National Park, I'm just going to talk about Big Bend right now. because that's the one we just came from. And one of the things like is a thing called Balance Rock. But in order to get to Balance Rock, it's a hike. And then once you do the hike, generally on flat land, but then you got to make a serious climb up rocks. Like it's a very steep climb, and the rocks aren't like these are, it's gravel, it's rocky. Like if you have knee injuries or shoulder injuries or back injuries, and you're out there with your family, or you're overweight, or you know what I mean? Like you're not mobile and you're just kind of like stiff. And then you attempt to do that. It's night. It's a setup to get wet up, my brother. It's not good. You don't want to be that person. You want to be able to do these things in your 40s, in your 50s, in your 60s, in your 70s, in your 80s and 90s, and even in your hundreds, because we're going to be able to live longer and healthier as we continue to live longer and healthier and stay alive. We've got to implement these 10 commandments. So let's get started. The very first thing, and I go through these 10 commandments of recovery for injury prevention, but also just to have sustainable workouts, right? Because I started this off by saying my program has 36 phases. Okay. That's 3 years of programming. And when I say programming, I mean follow along workout videos that you just click on and you're working out with the Funkster. So, but part of that is I have to make sure that the guys who are in this program, because it's an online program, they don't get injured, right? Like 15,000 guys going through a program. Imagine if the feedback on Trustpilot for Funk Roberts' program was, oh yeah, I did Funk Roberts' program, but I got injured. If you go to Trustpilot and do Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, all you're going to see is 5 out of 5s and how awesome the workout programs are. And you'll most likely see a lot of people talking about the recovery piece because they didn't expect it. So let's get started. The number one, well, it's just 10 commandments. So commandment number one is thou shalt prioritize your rest days. Okay. Thou shalt prioritize your rest days. What do I mean by that? Well, and I'm just going to go through each one very high level. If you want deeper, join the Brotherhood, over40alpha.com. But you need to allow your body time to heal, right? So scheduling regular rest days where you literally don't do, not even active rest, just you don't do anything, right? Because our muscles need to repair, right? Our bodies, our CNS, our central nervous system needs a little bit of a rest. Physiological systems need to benefit from the recovery time, right? But the most important thing is the muscles piece. Well, obviously it's the entire body piece, but the muscle piece is important because a lot of people think that if I rest, then, maybe I shouldn't eat as much and maybe, I'm losing muscle, but it's on the contrary because the rest day, the day that I always think about this picture that I see Arnold Schwarzenegger and Franco Columbo. Maybe I'm creating this picture and maybe I'm creating this meme, but I do remember seeing them just resting, right? Like they're on this couch and they're both like jacked and they're on this couch with their legs crossed. And I believe I saw something that said growth day, like muscles growing, growth day. Because muscles grow and repair and get bigger and get stronger when you're resting. So when I say a rest day, like a complete rest day, 1 day a week should be rest day. And generally for me and my programming, it's Sunday. But it could be any day for you because everyone's different. But in my programming, it's Sunday. Sunday's rest day. Day 7's a rest day. Like you don't do anything. You just obviously you're going to do some food prep and that sort of thing. But you do need that 1 day of complete rest. Because again, our bodies don't recover like they used to. Our bodies need time to, muscles need time to repair. Our bodies need time to repair. Our physiological systems need time to recover so that we can hit the next week running, right? In better shape, mentally, physically, our body ready to go, ready to hit that first workout of the week. So commandment number one, you got to prioritize your rest day. Like make sure you have 1 day each week that you rest completely from training or any physical activity if possible. Obviously, if you're running around with your kids, that's great, but I'm just talking, Number 2, commandment number 2, thou shalt incorporate active recovery. This is important because active recovery are things like low intensity activities that will help with recovery, stimulate blood flow, help your muscles repair without really overstraining them. And commandment number 2 and 3 are kind of like intertwined, but I'm just going to talk about number 2 first, and then I'm going to connect to number 3. But number 2 is like things like walking, things like yoga, but really and truly the yoga and Pilates piece, maybe swimming, these are beautiful for what we call our active recovery days, right? Because what you want to do on those active recovery days is you're not going to train because you don't want to overstimulate your muscles and your body to the point where now you're just not giving your body any time to recover. You're not giving your muscles any time to recover. But your active recovery day is going to be that day that you're going to use to help injury prevention, which means for me, it's yoga, mobility, Pilates, perhaps, right? Like I know Manflow yoga, phenomenal. Sports Pilates, phenomenal. And of course, our own Alpha Mobility with Rustin, that was a game changer inside of the Brotherhood. When I started the Brotherhood, I added yoga 2 days a week, right? With the fine yogini, Veronica, and the guys. Although it was a struggle and it was humbling and it was difficult, the incidence of people getting injured or a little bit of pain, like literally just went down completely. The only people who would say, "Oh, Funk, I got knee pain or shoulder pain, or I just injured something, during an exercise or whatever, or they got back pain or whatever." The first thing I say is, the first thing I always say is, are you warming up and stretching? But let's just jump in because we're talking about this. Are you doing the mobility or the yoga on those active recovery days? And the answer 100% of the time is no. Because no one who has those specific injuries, like lower back or a knee injury, like a knee pain, like that's not like something structural, something like physically happened. It just all of a sudden started happening. No one who's doing yoga or Pilates or the mobility stuff gets that, because not only are you preventing injury from the workouts, but you're also preventing like everyday nagging pain and injuries and things that happen at work or when you're picking up your kids or when you're doing whatever it is. So you need to schedule active recovery days. And those active recovery days need to have either yoga, either Pilates, mobility or flexibility, or a combination of all three. That is so important. So we're just talking about the active recovery day, or maybe even some swimming. But again, you want to use the active recovery day as a day for like, okay, this is what we call prehab. Prehab is prevention of rehab, right? So prehabbing means I don't want to go to rehab in regards to like physical rehab, right? I also don't want to go to rehab for other reasons, but I don't want to go to rehab. So let's do some preventative rehabilitation routines like mobility, flexibility, yoga, Pilates, and whatever else will come down the line that you implement twice a week. So remember, 1 day's rest day. 2 of those days now of the week are your active recovery days. So in the Brotherhood, you work out Monday, you active recovery Tuesday. You work out Wednesday, active recovery Thursday. You work out Friday, and then Saturday you can do walking, you can do a bonus workout, you can play football, basketball, soccer, go hiking, riding, doing whatever you love to do. It's one of those days that you can do whatever you want. But as you can see, I don't stack workouts over workouts. It's train, active recovery, which is mobility, yoga, flexibility, train, active recovery, train, and to see the pride of these guys with their mobility or their yoga and the fact that they feel better, right? They're not getting up with lower back pain. They're not getting up with shoulder pain. They're not getting up with knee pain and walking upstairs with their knees hurting and all this stuff, because they're doing the active recovery that is important for us as we get older. In fact, it almost becomes just as important as the workouts. The workouts are great, but I always shine a light on the guys who are posting about their recovery. Today I did the great mobility with Rustin, or mobility with Funkster, or mobility with Angela, or yoga with the fine yogini, and I'm trying to get someone to get in with some Pilates. There's so much benefit to that. And again, yes, it's not something that we would normally do. And in fact, I remember when I used to go to a yoga class across the street, 6 a.m. in the morning, twice a week, which was incredible before COVID. I used to sit in the back. And it was like, I would tell everybody, because they know who Funk Roberts is. So, for some reason they think I'm going to be great at yoga. And I'm like, hey, I'm very stiff. You can see how stiff I am. I'm not mobile. That's the reason why I'm here, guys. I'm not here just to show up. I'm here because I know the benefits of yoga. I know the benefits of the mobility that I'm going to get inside this class. So no, I can't do the warrior pose like you guys can do. No, I can't do the upward or downward dog like you guys can do. But give me 4 weeks and you're going to see an improvement. Give me 2 months and you're going to see an improvement. And that's what happens. Again, we're jumping outside of what we're used to doing in order to preserve ourselves for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So thou shalt incorporate active recovery. Number 3 is thou shalt not ignore mobility and flexibility training. So this ties into our second commandment. The third commandment is mobility and flexibility needs to be the top of the forefront, which is why I added like yoga and Pilates, because you can do that. But you can also include mobility into your warm-up, because in some of our warm-ups, most of our warm-ups, we have mobility, right? So we have mobility in our warm-ups. We have activation in our warm-up. We have range of motion in our warm-ups. We have central nervous system stimulation in our warm-ups, right? So that's the mobility piece is part of the warm-up. Now, of course, you still want, if you want on those active recovery days, to have like a mobility routine, because obviously just a warm-up with a mobility exercise here and there is not going to all of a sudden make you mobility mat. But mobility work is included. And then, of course, the flexibility, the stretching at the end of every workout, right? To ensure that you still maintain that full range of motion. We want to reduce the risk of injuries. And again, our flexibility decreases as we age, right? So this makes it even more crucial. Our mobility and flexibility will start to decrease as we age, which makes it even more crucial that we include it. So how do you include it? Well, you have the right warm-ups. And in that warm-up, you're going to have sequences that will include mobility, activation, corrective movements, range of motion, some foam rolling, some myofascial release. And then you're going to stretch after. You're going to take the time to stretch. I know, brothers. I know. You always are too busy to stretch after the workout. You want to bang out the workout and then do the abs. And then, you know what? I'll stretch later, but later never comes. And that's not how stretching works. Stretching doesn't work as I'm going to work out right now and then I'm going to stretch 7 hours later. You know that. And I know that. And listen, what if there, people say, oh, I don't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets. Well, I have regrets. And one of those regrets is not stretching after. And I used to warm up, but not the way I should have warmed up, right? Like as an athlete, I never stretched after, never, until I was fighting. But as a volleyball athlete, are you stretching after games, after practices, after tournaments? What are you talking about? That ain't happening. But today, it's like what I look forward to. The warm up is what I look forward to, because I don't jump into workouts these days. I'm coming in a little bit stiff, It's like, all right, okay. Woo, all right, I've been sitting a lot, hips are a little bit tight. Then you start doing the warm up, and then you're feeling much better, and then you're there ready to attack the workout. And then after your workout, you need some downtime. So the type of stretching I have in my programming is our Alpha ROMs, which are range of motion. So I want you to because stretching is good. Of course, we do need to get some stretching so we don't have the DOMS, the delayed onset muscle soreness. We can decrease a bit by some stretching. But most importantly, the type of stretching is also important. When you're doing what I call a range of motion, where you do passive and active stretching. So passive meaning you're just sitting in a hold, right? But what I like to do when we're in that hold for 2 or 3 minutes is there'll be times where I'll tell you to get a little bit active by flexing in that stretched position, because what that will do is that will strengthen the muscle in the stretched position. Because oftentimes when we just do regular stretching, all you're doing is just kind of like stretching, and then the muscle just goes back to where it was. So it doesn't really get, I don't know how to explain this. Let me try. It doesn't really get confident in that stretched position. So you find that's like, man, I stretch all the time, but I'm still not, like, I still can't touch my toes, right? Like there's people who like every single day they'll stretch after a workout and they still can't touch their toes. They'll do that bent over stretch and they still can't do that. I've been doing it for years. I still can't touch my toes. Well, that's just because you're stretching the muscle at the time, but then it just snaps back and it doesn't, and so if you get into the stretch position and then flex that muscle, what you're doing is you're strengthening the muscle in the flex position. So now your muscle goes, oh, I'm good here now. Okay, I feel confident here, right? Because I'm strong in the flexed position, the stretch position, that range of motion. I'm strong there. So now I can increase that range of motion, increase my flexibility because of the strength I have in that hold, or in that where that muscle is flexed, right? Or stretched, sorry, where the muscle's stretched. So there are specific types of stretching that you can do that will help with your flexibility. But if you're just doing the regular stretching that we know, like I said, it's gonna definitely, you need to do it. But in the Brotherhood, we'd have range of motion stretching, which is really good. Really good. Okay. Number 4, thou shalt embrace proper post-workout nutrition. This is a massive, massive one. And this is one that most guys and most people in general miss completely. Because after your workout, right after specifically a metabolic workout that you're doing, that you should be doing, and that you do inside my programming, but you have just deplenished all of your energy stores, your glycogen stores, right? They're just completely deplenished. Specifically, if you've done like a 20 to 30 minute metabolic workout, right? You're like, you're done, right? And so most people will have just a protein shake because that's what we've been taught. I even say, make sure you have your protein shake after your workout to start the recovery process. Good. That's good. And most of us guys don't get enough protein. So what a great way to get that protein in. But most of the times that's where it stops. And people will get the protein shake or a protein bar or whatever it is, and then they won't really eat until maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. Sometimes people go to bed without eating after a workout, depending on how late they go to bed, they work out. And when they do eat, they're trying to eat healthy. That's in quotations. So they'll just eat like maybe, I had some chicken and a little bit of a salad, right? Well, hey man, I just finished telling you that after your workout's done, you have deplenished all of your glycogen stores, all of your energy stores. So don't you think you should replenish that so that your body can start to recover, so your body can use the proteins that you're bringing in, so that the proteins can go to the muscles, the proteins can go to the metabolic processes that actually your proteins are needed through the body, the bones, the metabolic process, all of those things. Don't you think that you should be eating vegetables and fruits that are going to help give you the phytonutrients, the micronutrients, vitamins and minerals that you're probably lacking at that point after a workout? Don't you think you should be getting healthy fats in so that you can ensure that you have the good cholesterol for testosterone production? And then don't you think you should be eating complex carbs so that you can replenish the energy stores so that your body starts that metabolic process? It goes, hey, awesome, I'm getting the energy that I need through the carbs. That means I can get rid of this fat. I don't need to hold on to the fat, because that's generally what happens when you don't eat the carbs. And I know there's guys online again who are going to talk their bullshit. Well, I don't know if it's bullshit, but they're just going to talk their shit about the window and all of this stuff. But most of those guys aren't 40, 50, 60, and 70, and or they're on something, TRT or whatever. Well, and when guys are on TRT and they're telling you all this shit, you can't follow them unless you're on TRT. And my guys aren't on TRT. So the carbs are very important after your workout, along with proteins, along with healthy fats, and along with vegetables and fruits. And I'm not just saying this scientifically, but I'm saying this through proven results, because as much as my program is backed by science and research and all of those things, the proof is in the pudding. Like, I mean, like if you look at our proof page, there's thousands of guys, not just before and afters, but their health turnaround, their testosterone increasing naturally, their energy levels, their life changing. It's all there, and it's important that you prioritize your nutrition after your workout unbelievably. And sometimes, like I used to tell my fighters when I used to train fighters, you should be eating 2 to 1 carbs to protein. And sometimes I would even say 3 to 1 carbs to protein, but we're not fighters. So all I want you to do is make sure you have a source of complex carbs, and don't be afraid of eating a little bit more. When I say complex carbs, I mean white rice, I mean basmati rice, I mean sweet potato or white potato, some quinoa. Don't be afraid to take that down. Or if it's a morning, your steel cut oats. Make sure that there's a source of protein, high quality protein, your chickens, your steak, your grass-fed beef, I should say, your organic chicken, your fish, your protein powder, depending on when you're eating this meal. Of course, you want a healthy fat. So, healthy fats are great through avocado, or putting a lot of olive oil or grass-fed butter on some of your proteins. And of course, vegetables and fruits, which is great with a salad. A salad is great. Greens, getting those greens in. But you've got to make sure that you are taking priority in that post-workout nutrition. And again, I don't really care if it's in the 1 hour or whatever, but generally speaking, because we have busy days, you want to try to eat as fast as you can, right? Like we're trying to keep a routine that makes sense for us, that we can live a life that's easy for us to live. That's 3 meals a day. Each meal has, a balanced plate. I know what I'm going to do after my workout. I'm probably going to eat, right after, because I've already meal prepped, or I may eat an hour after, but I already have all of this down. But we got to embrace post-workout. If you're one of those people like I used to that works out late at night, then instead of having a meal with whole real foods on, which I would always suggest, but sometimes it's late, then you have a smoothie. But that smoothie needs to have complex carbs, which you could use with steel cut oats. It needs to have a protein, protein powder. It needs to be mixed with water. Then you just pile in the spinach or the kale, some type of, vegetables. You get in the berries, and then of course you can throw in like almond butter or avocado, and then also make sure you have a banana in there too. And there's your post-workout smoothie. So you're getting everything in. Number 5. So that's number 4. Embrace your post-workout nutrition. Number 5, thou shalt hydrate adequately. And this means you got to drink water. 1 gallon a day. That's it. Start with 1 gallon a day. Because most people don't. And when I say 1 gallon of water, I'm saying 1 gallon of water. A couple of those can have electrolytes in there. So, but it's 1 gallon of water. Because oftentimes when I say this to people, and I don't understand it, but it's okay. They'll say, well, is coffee count? No, I said water. Does juice count? No, I said water. Can I have this kind of like this oxygen water or whatever the frick it is? No, man, just drink freaking water. Okay, mineral water is good, but it's not always available. Water with electrolytes in there, great. Couple times a day, phenomenal. But it's water. Okay, don't try to freaking shirk the system, because as I mentioned before, the margin of error is very small. So now when you're trying to, I say shirk the system, but if you're just going to try to bypass or try to, what can I do? How can I get away with this, like getting it in without actually doing it? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not even an alpha attitude, right? That's not even a winning attitude. Like, I want to do the least to get what I can out of it. Well, you're never going to get the most out of anything if you're going to do the least, specifically in our 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and 80s, and 90s, because our margin of error, we can get away with that in our 20s. God, we could go 7 days well, we can't go 7 days without drinking water, but we go a long time without the 1 gallon of water and still perform at a high level in our 20s and our teens, but we're not in our 20s or teens. You got to throw that away, my brother. And hydration's so important for cellular function. It's so important for the repair process that's necessary during after our workouts. It's necessary for us while we work out. Water will help transport all of the nutrients to our muscles. It'll help remove waste products. It will help keep us from dehydration. It will help ensure that we have enough hydration to help with testosterone production. Like, it should be a no-brainer. And yes, you're going to be pee guy. You're going to be peeing all the time. But you're peeing for the reason that is due to the fact that you're drinking a ton of water. So 1 gallon, get one of those 1 gallon water bottles or whatever, and get a water, what do you call this thing? A water machine here that I have here and downstairs. And start drinking water. It's so important. We don't drink enough water. And a lot of people think they do. But once I throw the gallon in and I tell them, hey, track your water, whole different story. But then once they start drinking water, it's like, oh man, I feel so energized, man. I didn't think that me just drinking more water will help me to feel more energized and feel much better. And like, it's, yeah, brain's more clear. Yeah, because you're not dehydrated. You're not draining your body. You're not slowing down your metabolism and putting yourself into a starvation or survival mode. So thou shalt hydrate adequately. It was going to help with your recovery process. Number 6, thou shalt listen to your body. You have to heed the signs that your body sends. Although we are the heroes of our own story, you are not impressing anybody by working through pain, by excessively training when you're fatigued, by being sore all the time. Like, if you're always sore after your workouts, that's not good. Like, we're not training to be sore. Sure, after a change in your workout, because you're going to have a change in the stimulus, of course, generally, most of the times you're going to get that soreness after those workouts. Maybe the first week you're going to feel a little bit sore because there's maybe a new movement, or maybe you've added some load or some weight, or maybe there's a different type of exercise. You've kind of like, okay, I started with this exercise. Now we progress to this exercise, which means I'm using more muscle groups for this, version or variation of this exercise. Like, maybe you're focusing on the concentric movement, the negatives. Maybe you're doing more volume. Like, if it's a new stimulus, then generally your body will have some soreness, no matter, even if you've been training for years and years. But if you're always sore after workouts, then you're overtraining, and you're not giving your body a lot of the recovery commandments that we're talking about. So you should not be sore all the time. So that means you need to rest, or you need to adjust your workout intensity. So for us in the Brotherhood, every 3 phases, we have a deload week, because through the proven system that I've created over the last 5 or 6 years and years in this industry, I've realized that for guys in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, 90 days on 3 different types of programming, because our programs will change every month. So 90 days, you need that deload. And I tell these guys, you got to take the deload. Do not continue through another 90 days and think your body's going to get through it. And a lot of times it's that mentality of like, I'm going to lose my gains, man. And I always tell them, in fact, you're probably going to lose a bit more fat and build and see more muscle development during the deload week. And when it's a deload week, it's not just resting completely. You're still doing things. It's just the volume is lower, the intensity is lower, and you're focusing a lot more on mobility and flexibility, but you're still doing some stuff. But what I'm telling you is you that's built into my programming. But if you don't have that built in, then you need to listen to your body, because those signals, your body's telling you things. Again, pain, you're always getting injured. If you're always getting injured, you're getting the same type of injury. I mean, there's a lot of things that could be. It could be the way you're working out. It could be your form and technique. But in general, a lot of time, like you think about things, right? Like, okay, why am I always getting this? Why am I always getting this elbow injury all the time? Why am I getting tennis elbow all the time? Okay, well, let's see. Am I always working out and not giving my body a deload week? Okay, yeah, that's one. Number two, am I doing an exercise specifically in a way that's actually putting more focus on the elbow joint? Like, for instance, when you're doing side lateral raises with the dumbbell, I know you can't see this, but if you have the dumbbell in your hand and you break your wrist, which means your wrist is hanging down, right? So your knuckles are pointed down when you're holding the dumbbell, and then you're doing the shoulder raise. You know what's happening right now? The elbow is actually taking the brunt of that, because what you're doing is you're putting, when you hold the dumbbell like this, you're putting a lot of strain on the forearm. And when you're doing a shoulder raise, it's not a forearm raise, it's a shoulder raise. So the focus should be on the shoulder. So what happens most of the time, and this generally happens to guys in my brotherhood when they're doing that wrong, and when they're doing it, like, let's say it's like the third round of a workout, right? So you're a little bit more fatigued. And then although in the videos, I'm always saying, giving those cues, because I know that they're a little bit more fatigued. And when you're fatigued, that's when your technique kind of goes out the door, right? Because you're just trying to get it done. But that's not how we do it. Because when you just try to get it done and your technique goes out the door, then you get injured. So I always say, guys, make sure that you hold that dumbbell in alignment with your wrist, with your elbow as you're moving up. Do not break it. So that's a sign that, okay, you're continuously doing the wrong exercise, the technique's wrong, but you're just doing it over and over and over again. You're not giving your body time to rest. So you keep getting injured. There's a lot of different reasons that if you don't listen to your body and you put your pride to the door and rest when your body needs it, I'm telling you, you're going to come back stronger. You're going to come back feeling better, and you're going to decrease the chances of injury. Number 7, thou shalt utilize recovery tools. Hey, remember I said we're in the small margin game now, brothers, which means we need to start using things like foam rollers and massage guns and compression pants for some times you need to. The only thing that I will tell you that you will not use is Tiger Balm or Bengay or liniment or anything that you're rubbing, any ointment that you rub on your body because you're having specific pain, because you're not stretching, because you're not doing the mobility, because you're working out too much, because you're not hydrating. Then you try to cover it up with smelly, disgusting smelling old man rubs. Those are the tools I'm talking about. The tools I'm talking about are foam rolling. We should be foam rolling on a daily basis. 5 minutes of foam rolling every day. Pick an area, foam roll. Get the myofascial release. Massage guns. I have a massage gun downstairs. Sometimes I use it. Well, when I'm sitting down, let me just massage out these muscles. They've done some work. Compression pants. I used to wear them all the time in my workouts. You look at my workouts on YouTube. I used to use compression pants because I just needed that because I had back issues. But a lot of these things will help with muscle recovery, reducing soreness. I mean, we can go on with like saunas, getting in the sauna after your workout if you have access to that, cold plunges if you have access to that, for sure. Those type of utilize those tools. But if you're showing up to the gym or coming home and you reek of Tiger Balm, Bengay, any of those things, I mean, if you're in front of my face, I'm slapping you across the face. And you're going to know exactly why. I'm going to look at you. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to look at you and turn up my face, and I'm just going to slap you across the face. That's it. That's it. I'm going to use violence. Because sometimes you need a slap across the face to wake your ass up. Please don't be that guy, man. Please. Because that guy is there because he's not doing the other things that I'm talking about on an ongoing basis. All right, next up. Number 8, thou shalt seek quality sleep. This is probably the most talked about thing on the planet at the moment when it comes to health and fitness, is the fact that it's the one thing that we can literally fix, or at least do the things to fix right away, that's going to give our body the best possible results in the shortest possible of time. Will turn around specific ailments and things that we're suffering from right away if we get 7 to 9 hours sleep, including muscle growth and muscle repair, including tissue growth and recovery, including energy for the next day, including repairing the processes that go on in our bodies, including all of the metabolic processes, all of the things that happen throughout the body. Sleep is key, and that includes recovery. That is part of recovery. In fact, but we even took sleep and made it its own thing. That's how important it is in the pillars of the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, but it is also part of recovery. We need to get 7 to 9 hours sleep, specifically if we're building muscle, because one of the key things, physiological changes that happen to us as we get older, is when we reach the age of 35, we start to suffer from sarcopenia, which is a natural loss of muscle due to aging. So it's very important when our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and the 100s, that we're consistently building muscle. And so in order to build muscle, we break and tear muscle fibers in the workout so that when we sleep and we have recovery days, that's when our muscles grow. That's when they get stronger. That's when they repair. That's when they get bigger in some senses. But we need that. Aside from testosterone production and all of our health issues that are most of the times, a lot of the times, caused by lack of sleep, that's the one thing that if we can just get that first, a lot of other things will start to open up for us to be like, okay, I'm feeling a lot better. Awesome. I'm not suffering from this brain fog anymore. Oh, wow. Okay. I'm getting the sleep now. The workouts that I'm starting to do, I'm actually seeing, faster results, because if you are training all the time, and if you're okay, here's an example. In March, we're going to have our muscle shred challenge. Okay. Muscle shred challenge. This is a 28-day challenge inside my brotherhood. And those who want to pay, they can pay. We're right now in the middle of a fasting challenge, but now after the fasting challenge, we're gonna do the muscle shred challenge, part of a 90-day challenge to start the year, but it's gone more than 90 days. And and so we're in the fat loss phase right now. And then the very next challenge, which happens in March, is going to be muscle. But the number one thing that I'm going to tell these guys during that challenge is the number one thing, aside, because the workouts, you just can do the workouts. If you don't get 7 to 9 hours sleep during this 28-day challenge every day, you're not going to get results. Because I'm not just talking about newbies doing this. I'm talking about guys who've been in the program for a while. Even with newbies, you'll get, obviously, because if you haven't worked out at all and you're now doing muscle building metabolic workouts, totally you're going to see some changes. But it's about creating the habits that are sustainable. So you want to get 7 to 9 hours sleep, quality sleep, and doing everything you can to do it. Number 8 is thou shalt seek quality sleep. Number 9, thou shalt balance intensity and volume. Once again, as we age, right, we can't work out 7 days a week. You can't work out 6 days a week. You can't even work out 5 days a week sustainably without setting yourself up for injuries or overtraining. Like overtraining for a 20-year-old is not 5 days a week, but overtraining for a 40, 15, 16, 7-year-old, no matter what shape you're in, no matter what, no 50, 60, or 7-year-old man, unless you are actually in a sport and you're doing something sports specific that needs you to train that much. And even then, I wouldn't train 4, 5, 6 days a month. I work with the UFC. and I see these fighters, okay? And I see the fighters, even the champions that are just aging. Like, and in fighting, in MMA, aging is like 35. Specifically if you're in a like smaller weight. Like if you're a heavyweight, you could if you're a heavyweight, you could probably fight till you're like in your mid 40s because you're not training at the intensity that the guys in, that are 135, 125, 145, 155, 170, 185 ish. Like the training in those weight classes are a little bit more intense. They're doing a little bit more strength and conditioning because of conditioning that they need in order to last. Whereas when you're getting into those like heavyweights, the pace is much slower. Not saying that they don't, but I'm just saying like you can last longer in the heavyweights as opposed to the when you're when you're fighting at a lighter weight class. And I think if you're a fighter listening to this right now, please heed this because I'm seeing it firsthand that you get to like 35 and you're going to start to slow down because you're training like you're still like even if you're a champion, like let's go with a champion, you still have that champion mindset that you need to like train, intensity, volume, train. When most likely the people around you are telling you, hey man, you don't need to train this much anymore. We need to focus more on the recovery piece so that you don't burn out or so that you can still perform at a top level without overtraining, without injury. Because I start to see, these guys getting injured all the time as they're getting older. They're getting injured more, like stupid little. I don't know. I'm not gonna say stupid injuries, but because there's the strength and conditioning portion of training, there's a recovery portion of training, and then there's a skills portion. So a lot of things happen. But what I'm saying is, I see when they get to 35. Things like change like this. Like it honestly happens from one fight where they're like dominating to like the next fight when they hit the threshold like 35, 36, and it's like they completely slowed down. And I believe the reason why that happens in those lower weight classes is because they continue to train like they're in their early 30s and 20s when they get to a point where they should actually start to change the training modality to not sparring all the time, not training at the volume and the intensity so that they can prolong themselves through. And I think the mental state of a fighter is like, no, I got to keep going. But then you watch in their fights and it's like, oh shit, this guy's he's not moving the way he used to or she used to. Like the fast twitches aren't happening because when you overtrain, your body's not going to recover in a way that you need to perform. And that also happens in regular life. I'm just using the fighters as like, I'm seeing like guys who were just the champion like 6 months ago lose a fight or two and are like washed up and they're only like a year older. But if you look at it, it's like, man, if that guy goes back in the ring sooner, it ain't going to go well for them. Because these young cats who don't have that margin of error can continue to train like that. And can you at 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40 in those weight classes dominate still? Yeah, I think you can, but you have to, the whole mindset has to change to like, oh, I may spar, once or in a while, but the recovery piece is going to be my major thing. I'm not going ham because my body can't go ham and then expect to perform 8 weeks later. It's not going to happen. It's the physiological changes that are going on in the body, specifically starting at 30 and then 35, and already their testosterone levels are super low because they're training at such a high intensity that their T levels are so low. Fighters' testosterone levels are super low, 100%. Like they have very low testosterone levels because of the training that they're doing. That's another story. And you saw it when you definitely saw what happened to the fighters who back in the day when everyone was sauced up and then they came off the sauce. And what happened to all those fighters? Guys were getting their heads kicked out, eyes plucked out, fucking people just like who 1 minute were like amazing. The very next 6 fights they lose. It's insane. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that applies to us guys as we get older. We need to adjust the intensity. We need to adjust the volumes. No more are we training on the cardio for 60 minutes. Our bodies can't handle that. The recovery can't handle. I don't care what anyone else tells you. Once again, you're going to have guys online telling you, oh yeah, you got to get in the low impact, low fucking zone and go for 60 minutes. All this bullshit that they don't realize that when you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, it isn't the same for guys. It is not the same. We want smart training, which is 20 to 30 minutes, metabolic training, total body training, 3 to 4 times a week, right? So the intensity, the volumes, 3 to 4 times a week, right? With those recovery days in between. That's all we need. Guys, when people ask me how many times you work out a week, I go 3 to 4 times. They can't believe it. I'm like, yeah. Like, what do you think I fucking live in the gym? Are you an insane? No, I don't. I fucking sit. I come back. I'm in my right now where I'll get up from here, do a warm up, and do a 20-minute workout right here, and stretch after. Get a sauna with my sauna over here, and a shower, and then some nutrition. That's it, man. We don't need. And it's like, well, you must have done something before. No, man, I've been training like this for freaking 6-7 years, dude. So, what? Right? We got to train differently. I'm 55 years old. So when you're 40, you got to start focusing on 4. And who wants to be in the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week? Who wants to always be sore and not recovering? So the volume of your workouts, 3 to 4 times a week. That's all you need, gents. Total body workouts. The intensity should be intense. You know, your rate of perceived exertion should be 8 to 10 in specific work. Probably not 10 because we're not going that high, but like 7 to 9, right? Your rate of perceived exertion, which generally equals what's the reps in reserve, what reps you have in reserve, but that's a whole other thing. I think I've actually had a podcast episode of that, or maybe that was a coaching call. Anyway, it should still be very high during that 20 to 30 minutes so you can optimize the metabolic benefits of metabolic training, right? The afterburn effect that you'll get. And of course, you're going to build muscle because we're using metabolic resistance training, but we're not overusing our muscles and overusing the central nervous system. So we set ourselves up for injury. Remember, this is a lifelong program, which is why we add the deload weeks so that the volume also goes down. So you shall balance your intensity and your volume. No more 5, 6, 7 day a week workouts, and no more 60-minute workouts, 45-minute workouts generally. The final commandment is thou shalt consider professional help. That's right, brothers. Get some help because you can't do this alone. Doesn't have to be me. But when I say get some professional assistance, I'm not just talking about the trainer. I'm actually talking more about your physical therapist, your massage therapist. Like, go, if you are tight, if you are always getting injured, if you feel like you're just not moving and your mobility is not there, go see a physical therapist so that they can, or a mobility specialist, so that they can start working on you. Angela goes and sees Dawn. Dawn's a beast. And the reason why Angela can continuously train at the level that she does is because she sees Dawn. I used to see Dawn once in a while, and he gave me a routine that I still use to this day. But if I make the time to see Dawn, I would all the time. Like, why would you not see a professional who can take you through? Still, you got to do your homework. But going to see somebody who can work on specific things like a shoulder injury or your elbow or your knee or your hip mobility and lack thereof, or your back, all of these things that you can go and get that help. Massage therapists, go if you have like a health benefits at your work, use it. Again, we're at the point in our lives gentlemen, when we're in our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and we want to continue to live a very healthy lifestyle. We want to provide, protect, and procreate for our kingdom. I'm pointing to my hat, which is our alpha purpose. This is the alpha purpose sign right here. We're put on this earth as men to provide, to protect, and to procreate. We can't do any of those three if we're always injured, if we have health problems, if we're obese, if we're not strong, if we're betas. We can't do that. And I see it all the time. But this is us, the king of our kingdom. See the circle here? That's our kingdom. I know you guys can't see it online, but that's our kingdom. And that's what we're the king of. Our kingdom means our family, our community, and those around us that are important to us. That's why we're here. But we can't do any of that stuff if we're not focusing on our recovery and our overall health, so that we're not the ones sitting in the hospital at 55 after a heart attack that we 100% could have avoided. And now our family members have to take care of us. We're draining the accounts of our family members, and you're just seeing your kids and your wife, who you're supposed to be protecting and providing for, now having to deal with your ass because you didn't think about your own health, because you got to put yourself first so that you can be the king of your kingdom. And that starts with the recovery. So with that, I will leave you the 10 commandments of recovery for prevention. I hope you just take, even if you take one of these, right? Thou shalt prioritize your rest days. Thou shalt incorporate active recovery. Thou shalt not ignore mobility and flexibility. Thou shalt embrace proper post-workout nutrition. Thou shalt hydrate adequately. Thou shalt listen to your body. Thou shalt utilize recovery tools except for the smelly ass creams. Thou shalt seek quality sleep. Thou shalt balance your intensity and your volume, making sure you're at deload weeks. And thou shalt consider professional assistance with physiotherapists, massage therapists, and of course, a coach or a trainer who has a program. And speaking of a program, as I mentioned before, my brothers, you can't do this alone. And that's not to pick at your ego, but if you haven't worked out in a long time, if you haven't trained in a long time, if you use specific workouts or things that you see online and kind of trying to put your things together and still not seeing the results, it's time to invest in a program and a system that's specifically designed for guys our age, in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. That's why I created the Over 40 Alpha Brotherhood. That's why I'm giving you the opportunity with a low barrier for $1. One measly American dollar for 30 days inside a program where you're going to get follow along workouts on the website, or you can download the app and have them all on the app. You're going to get 4 live coaching calls. You're going to get warm-ups. You're going to get stretches. You're going to get ab circuits all in your training. Plus, you're going to get mobility and yoga, the recovery piece. You're going to get mindset. You're going to get the Facebook group of the thousands of brothers who support each other. We don't talk politics. We don't talk religion. We don't talk pop culture. We don't talk that shit. We talk about making us the best. Iron sharpens iron inside the brotherhood. And this is it. And the program is designed specifically to help you naturally increase testosterone, lose belly fat, burn belly fat, lose weight, increase your sleep, increase your energy, reverse diabetes, reverse chronic illnesses like heart disease and cholesterol issues, naturally increase testosterone. I talked about a build lean muscle. Like, this is the ultimate program for men over 40, and why thousands and thousands and thousands of men are in phase 30 and continuing through. Guys have finished 30 phase. Oh, by the way, after the 30 days, if you continue, then you hit those milestones. You get the milestone t-shirts. But let's not talk about that, because the first step is $1, 30 days. So on day 29, if you want to cancel, please cancel. Our Sarah and Marianne will be happy to give you your $1 back or cancel. I'm not here to take your money. I'm here to create alpha men who want to be there for their families. So for $1, go to over40alpha.com and just join, man. Just join. I'll be there. I'm there with you the entire time. Not going to leave you. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode, The 10 Commandments of Recovery and Injury Prevention. Please share this with somebody and get prepared, because I've got a whole list of 10 commandments coming up so that you can take some of these tips, tricks, and strategies and apply them to your life. I'm the Funkster, and I'll see you on the other side. Get it done.
Welcome to the Over 40 Alpha Podcast with your host, Funk Robert.